turn now to water. And with us is David Bereskin, who's the CEO of Greenville Water, and he's going to share for a little while about that important part of our natural resources.
Good afternoon, I'm Dave Bereskin with Greenville Water, and I'm going to take you on a macro to micro discussion about water. So the global perspective, 70% of the earth is covered in water, and only 1.3% of it is usable as fresh water today. This is just a water cycle that depicts that water is used by all of us, but it never really disappears from earth, and it just moves, and where it lands is what's really important to us. So this map from Maplecroft depicts water-stressed areas across the world, and as you can see, it's a very important resource that businesses are looking at to make decisions of where they're going to do their economic development. If you look at our North America part, we have lots of the map covered in red, which is not good for the water resource. So it's scarce water, it's climate change, which is the part of the water cycle where water drops is changing, and the amount of water that when it rains is changing dramatically. There's over 3.4 million people a year in the world that die from a waterborne disease. Now let's go to the U.S. 80% of the water is used for agricultural purposes and to make thermoelectric power. The other 20% is used for sustainable life, domestic and industrial purposes. Over to your left is a graph that shows how water is used in our everyday life. This is going back to DPOC's information. This map was made by USGS in 2005, and it predicted the growth pattern changes in the percentages that are shown in the states, and in those states it also shows the average daily water use. Here in South Carolina, by 2030, we predict a 28% population growth, and we're in the 75 to 100 gallon per capita per day. In 2012, just 6 months ago, this is what the United States looked like in its drought predicament. As you can see, South Carolina was in abnormally dry conditions, and as of today, we are out of drought completely because Duke Electric told everyone Savannah River is in good conditions. Mike Wilson, where are you? Thank you very much for that, Mike. So the whole state is out of drought conditions right now. But it could change as fast as 6 months. We could be back in it. So water in South Carolina. We have 8 planting basins used by both DHEC and DNR. Greenville Water and the Upstate. Greenville Water in specific draws its water from the headwaters in both in 2 basins, the Savannah and the Saluda River Basin, and we deliver water in 3 of those basins, the Savannah, Saluda, and Broad River Basin. We serve 500,000 residents. We are the largest, or one of the largest water utilities in the state, and we have 15 wholesale customers throughout our service area and deliver water in 4 counties. This is all due to the foresight of my predecessors and the preceding commissions. In the 1930s, we looked for another resource and established Table Rock Reservoir. It's comprised of 10,000 acres. We have recently concluded and adopted a wildfire management plan with the efforts of our partner TNC, and are in the process of a watershed management plan for both this reservoir, and then in the 60s we moved on and built the Poinsett Reservoir. The Commission is very active in the way we protect these properties. The Nature Conservancy helps us protect the properties and helped us write the watershed management plan that I just referred to. So moving on another 10 years, and we work with Duke Energy and FERC in establishing a third resource for the Upstate in Lake Keowee. So what is this all about? Recently, over the last 3 to 5 years, we've seen a lot of headlines, a lot of stories about water wars with North Carolina around the Catawba, with water wars along the Savannah, stretching all the way from the Duke reservoirs down to the harbor. So what is driving this is just in this map here is the last 16 years up to 2011. It indicates that we've only had 3 years of more than normal precipitation. In the last 16 years, we've had two periods of drought years of record, which was 98 to 2002, which was throughout the whole state of South Carolina, and then in 06 to 08 at the Savannah River Basin. So water resources and the availability of water resource is taking a much more prominent issue with my peers and with the state today. We've got state conflicts, we got Savannah River Basin, the Catawba River Basin, and then in 2011 we had the Surface Water Withdrawal Act, which was the first step in moving from a riparian water law state to a perfected water rights state. We're moving the scale from one to the other end. So it was very important for us all to establish our water rights and be able to say to the community, to all of these companies that want to locate down here, that we have water for the X amount of years. And this was the state's way of starting that process, saying not only is the utility or the municipality saying that, but us as a state have now permitted it and have guaranteed the right to that resource. So just last week, I'm very, very proud to announce that Greenville Water has obtained its surface water withdrawal permits from the state, and we have our water resources guaranteed by the state for the next 40 years. So what's next for us water managers throughout the state and for the state agencies? What's really key here, which was talked about by Deepak in his presentation about drawing businesses here, is being able to tell them that we have an adequate and reliable supply of water for the future. And this permitting and planning process is going to take us there. These are some of the companies that we provide water to as Greenville Water and the other water utilities in the upstate. The healthcare systems depend upon us. Nature and enjoying the beautiful environment depends on the water providers. And more importantly, our children depend on us being able to sustain this way of life for the future. So where are we going as a state? And as the water providers, and as the energy providers, and the agricultural community, and hopefully a lot of you will participate. We have to develop a state water plan. And that state water plan is going to be subdivided into 8 basins, and each basin will have a water plan. That water plan has to be sufficient not only for Greenville Water, but for all of the water users in the basins that we take our water from downstream, for South Carolina to be a viable plan. But the most important part, and the part that the Water Utility Council of South Carolina and the Upstate water utility providers are trying to stress, is this has to be stakeholder driven. No one entity, no one process, no one government section, no one industry can drive this alone. It has to be collaborative, and we all have to work together to be able to plan for the next 100 years. We at Greenville Water have a supply in place for the next 100 years. We need to make sure that the basins agree to that, and that the state agrees to that, and that we all can have the water resource for our economic viability. So these are some of the things that we're doing to prepare and to stretch our water resource. We have a very robust infrastructure plan. We are replacing at least $10 million worth of aged infrastructure a year, which is built into the rates. And we are doing capital improvement programs to get ready for the onset of economic development. Water supply is finite. There's only so much water, and where it rains is out of all of our control. but we have the basins in place. We're very fortunate that I'm very fortunate, as well as some of the other water utilities, that the basins were in one of the most water-rich places in the state and in the country. The Table Rock Reservoir gets 80 to 90 inches of rain a year. The Saluda Reservoir gets 70 inches of rain, and then the bigger reservoirs that we start on the Savannah, with the Duke reservoirs, this shows you the difference in how important climate change is and where rainfall is. The bigger reservoirs are down to 40 to 50 inches of rain, so it matters where it rains. So one of the ways also that we need to start working throughout the upstate and in all the communities we serve water to is talk about water conservation. It's hard to talk about this message when it's raining like it has been today and for the last 3 months, but it's something that we're all going to have to grapple with and talk about before we're in the drought conditions. We have to talk about smart water ordinances so we don't have to instead of putting out the rules and regulations that are fair to everybody, the only other way to address it is through punitive rate structures. And right now, a report was just done by Dr. Knox out of Clemson that was handed out to the water providers to study the water and wastewater rates. To be able to keep the rates affordable and some of the lowest in the southeast, we have to do good planning and good ordinances to make sure that we're all securing our water resource. These are some of the ordinances and rules that I'm talking about that we need to discuss over the coming years to put in place. And with that, I just want to leave it with that we won the best of the best tasting water in North America in competition in 2011, and next week we're in the same competition and hope to bring it back home in 2013. So with that, thank you.